May I call upon quickly Mr. Manish Gupta from OpenText. He's the Director of Business and Technology Consulting, and he is responsible for business development and pre-sales practice across APAC for OpenText application delivery portfolio. I hand over the stage to Manish.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to step in to present at this forum today. It's really great to be presenting in front of such a large audience after many years. I think we all know that during COVID, we were doing this virtually. I had the opportunity to present during the virtual summits as well. If some of you are not aware, OpenText recently acquired Micro Focus. So we used to be Micro Focus. Prior to that, we were HPE Software. And then even before that, some of you might remember it used to be a company called Mercury, where I started my career more than 2 decades back, and still continue to do what we've been doing for more than 2 decades, which is helping customers deliver applications faster with better quality. A lot of focus on testing and testing tools. I think LoadRunner, UFT, ALM, Quality Center, I think these are all household names in many, many testing organizations and testing departments and COEs across the globe. So today I want to talk about how the whole digital assurance business is actually shaping up, especially with DevOps practices becoming more and more entrenched in software delivery. So I think we all agree that digital transformation is everywhere. Every organization is actually adopting DevOps as a preferred delivery method for delivering on digital promises, projects, as more web and mobile applications are gaining presence in the organization, which also means that technology around cloud and hybrid are also increasing in presence. Application changes are getting deployed more frequently, right? This is the whole time to market business that we have been chasing, that can we get to the market faster by releasing new products, new applications faster? So that means more deployments, more changes. One thing that's happening in the testing world, of course, is that business SMEs and business analysts, they are called upon to do testing in many departments. And how do we help them ease their burden of testing? Especially, I saw a nice debate happening here about shift left, shift right. So shift right is actually something that is really, the business SMEs and the end user testing or the UAT people are really looking to automate their part of testing. So we need to address that. And in midst of all this that is happening, I think everybody is now also familiar with large language models and AI and computer vision becoming more and more prevalent in the testing business. So I'll touch upon some of these, but before that, just the context setting. What is the problem that we are actually trying to solve for? It's no longer just being able to do testing and manage testing and doing testing faster, but we have to look at the whole life cycle. Today, the reality is that we have put a lot of tools in place from planning. You have some PMOs, PPM kind of products. We have tools like Jira, which is helping in the development and backlog management. Then we have tools like ALM Quality Center, et cetera, for testing, LoadRunner, right? Somewhere, we are checking in code in a Git repository, and there is Jenkins-based or any CI tooling-based CI/CD process. And what we are trying to show here really is that this process is kind of disconnected. And what everybody wants to achieve is really how can we become more efficient in software delivery and at the same time put quality at the center of everything so that we can eliminate the wait times between the different stages. We can eliminate the rework. We don't find these defects too late in production. And quality organizations, testing organizations have to play a very central role in solving for this problem and getting everybody aligned so that the whole delivery process looks like one streamlined process. And some of the organizations have started calling these practices as the evolution of DevOps into value stream management. Okay, so value stream management is another topic that is gaining importance as a buzzword, and which is the digital value stream is what we are solving for. The digital value stream is nothing but that SDLC process that is going to cater to the business value stream. And what OpenText and erstwhile Micro Focus launched more than a year ago is a platform-based approach to solve for this problem. And it's called Value Edge. And given the shortage of time today, I only have, I think, 25 minutes. I can't go through the details of each and every module of Value Edge. It is, suffice to say, it's an open and integrated platform. I'll touch upon some of those elements. But it is, as you can see, caters to portfolio and strategy, which is the planning function, the build function. You have the agile delivery module. You have the quality management, functional testing, performance testing. So rather than talk about these individual modules and what their capabilities are, I thought in the interest of time, we will just take a shortcut and talk about some of the use cases that we see in terms of the challenges that we can then address using some of the capabilities in Value Edge. So by no means, what I'm going to talk about is exhaustive list of all the capabilities that Value Edge can offer, but especially in the context of observability, in the context of quality, we'll look at some of the use cases. So let me start with the visibility challenge. It's always hard to see the big picture when you have this disparate tool set and silos of data. So I'll talk about the silos of data that is residing in these individual tools in the next use case. But primarily, when you have multiple products, multiple projects in a large organization running in parallel with dependencies, it is only natural that misalignments will happen, and you may not have one view to the entire big picture scenario in terms of whether the project quality is good, whether the status of the project is green or not. In terms of tracking velocity, in terms of tracking throughput. So the solution really is to bring about the observability, the visibility across that entire DevOps process. You can call it visibility across the value stream. You can call it visibility across the SDLC. Essentially, we want to provide holistic view, not just across the digital value stream, but across the business KPIs as well. And very important from, again, a quality and testing perspective is putting quality in context so that we can focus on the right thing. So let's look at some of these examples. What holistic visibility would mean in the context of DevOps observability or value stream observability. This is just an example of how you can start measuring the flow over time, defect rates, things like escape defects. I'll talk about some use case from an AI and analytics perspective also coming up next. Planning and tying back to the business epics and business architecture, you see some of the graphics at the bottom can help us provide that end-to-end visibility from a management perspective. And then putting quality in context becomes very central for QA organizations, for testing. Here again, I'm showing you some examples of how visibility from a quality-centered perspective would look like. What you're seeing here is sort of a heat map of the different modules of the application that we are testing. And each of these modules have test cases mapped to them, so you can see in context what are the risky code commits that are happening in the different application modules, what are the CI-based automation tests that are running in each of these application modules, and we are mapping those automated tests running in the CI pipeline back to these application modules so that we can measure the quality holistically and put quality in context. Of course, manual tests, the top right chart there, again in context of the different application modules, features that the teams are building, the open defects, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just an example. There are almost 60 plus out-of-the-box dashboards that we provide that can give you that DevOps observability. But then having observability, having the visibility is only one part of the problem solved. The second part of this problem is still being able to decipher that data and be able to understand why these problems are occurring. And the symptom really is that release after release, we are not getting improvements in quality. Defects are still leaking into production. And we all realize that there is data sitting in these silos, in these different tools, but we are not able to tie them together, one. But two, we are not able to do meaningful analytics on this data to provide us insights as to why these problems are happening, why defects are leaking into production, why certain features are delayed, why quality is poor in a certain application module. Okay? So we look at some examples of analytics that we can, at least from a quality risk perspective, we can reflect upon and understand how to, or what actions to take. And also then I will show some examples of AI-based root cause analysis so that AI can suggest, based on data analytics, where the problems might be with respect to the problems that we are trying to solve. So just look at this example here. This is a quality risk scorecard that, again, is customizable. So you have these application modules. You're testing your application by modules. You have test cases aligned to them. And then you have code commits, like I said, in context of those application modules. You have tests that are being executed from a manual and automated perspective. You have coverage. And based on that, it calculates a score, and it's showing me that there is some issues related to this application module. AI can actually start recommending me what test to run. So this second graphic that you see here is recommended tests to reduce this quality risk for this application module. And along with that, it is providing me some of the reasonings why I should be running these test cases. So we are putting AI to use based on algorithms that, today the technology is advanced enough to define these algorithms, process the data, capture historical data, and learn from it. And using machine learning, then you are getting more and more intelligent over a period of time to start reducing quality risk based on optimization that AI is suggesting, because we don't have the time to run each and every test case to resolve the quality risk issues. Okay. Another example I want to talk about from an AI-based root cause analysis and in the sphere of advanced analytics is looking at defects across different releases, and these are escape defects. Very, very bad thing, right, for QA and testing especially, that why did these defects leak? So AI does the correlation across all the parameters of all these defects across releases, and it's doing simple correlation, no rocket science here. But now we are able to see that certain application modules might have a higher propensity for defects getting leaked based on the data that AI is able to process across releases, across the different application modules, across the different defects. Same kind of analysis I can put to work on waste measurement that we do in a VSM context, why features are delayed, okay? When features are delayed, again, there could be waste because nobody was working on those features when it was ready. Nobody started testing it because the handoff did not happen properly. So AI is looking at all the different parameters, all the different attributes that can be then processed to suggest me what is at the root of those problems. So the problem statement was, we have the data, but we still don't know what is the root cause of this problem. So we're putting that to use. Okay, the third use case I want to talk about is mostly in the context of automation, DevOps, continuous testing, which is very important in digital world. And legacy quality practices continue to burden us with delays, too much dependency on manual testing. But even when we are doing automated testing, one of the things that stands out very, very clearly is that the automated tests are really not connected with the rest of the life cycle. Right? There are some tests sitting in some Git repository. When the time comes, the automation engineer just runs those tests, and then you have no context of those test cases, which makes it difficult to pinpoint the problem. So modernizing your testing with continuous testing practices, starting with techniques like BDD, defining and measurement of the strategy behind automation, and extending that to even measuring ROI of automation is something that we can focus on. But then the second bullet point here, very important, I believe, whenever I talk to customers about this platform, they immediately give me the feedback that being able to connect the CI/CD pipeline to the platform gets me all the test coverage in one place, puts automated tests in the context of my entire life cycle, and map them, of course, back to the application module. So how do we do that? We connect the CI pipeline. So this schematic you see here is all these vertical bars could be the nightly builds, could be the daily builds, could be the hourly builds, whatever build frequency, CI pipeline execution frequency that you're using. And on the left side, you have all the jobs or all the activities that got triggered in the pipeline. So we are hooking into the CI tool and then bringing all the test cases that were running in the CI pipeline back to the platform. And then we are able to map them to stories. So you see that right diagram there. I can look at a story, user story, right, that orange box, and I can look at what is the automated test coverage based on an automated test that is sitting in my Git repository and execute it through this CI pipeline. I can map it to my release process. I can map it to requirement document if I'm doing still traditional process. I can map it to the different, so the story itself is broken down from a feature from an epic, right? So I have all that traceability in one place to be able to do my root cause analysis better. This is the kind of traceability, and even outside when we are at the booth, I had a few customers walk up and they were telling me that all the tools that we use today just fails in providing this kind of traceability that puts everything in the context. But now I can go one step further, and I can do analytics on my pipeline data as well. So while I'm able to read my pipeline, I'm able to look at all the test cases that are running in my pipeline, unit tests, even security scans, regression tests, functional performance. I can not only understand the test status in each of the pipeline, but I can also start grouping the test into problematic items. So, I used to work for a fintech company where we were running 3,000 automated tests every night in the pipeline. And when 50 or 70 of those 3,000 tests failed, it was such a painful activity to start understanding which ones failed and why they failed. Now here, it's doing analytics on that data. It can tell me that if these tests are failing on every pipeline run, it might mean that these tests need maintenance. Or if it's a test that is oscillating, it fails sometimes, it passes sometimes, then I can take other corrective action. So a lot of that analytics coming in. Code coverage-related data coming in from my automated test. But more importantly, because we are checking in code as part of this CI pipeline, I can even tag users back to my entire process and the people who are checking in the code and the actual code commits that are going into the system. We have all that traceability built in now. Okay, so very, very unique capability to manage and group your automation, to auto-assign. Even auto-assignment of failure of the pipeline can be triggered based on knowing the users who are involved in this particular code check-in. And then I talked about tracking your automation coverage, how it is expanding over a period of time, tracking automation ROI, right? Release after release, we are able to look at defect cost, we are able to look at development effort, rework effort, etc. And then it tells me whether ROI of automation is actually getting achieved or not. All this just helping me make automation mainstream in the DevOps framework with CI/CD, but then making it part of the overall development process. The last use case I want to touch upon is scaling automation, right? So one thing is we all want to do automation, we want to do DevOps, but still I think people tell me that scaling automation in IT, in the organization, in development, is still a challenge. And one of the reasons is the test maintenance effort. We've been talking about this issue for more than 5 years now. This test maintenance issue means that as we deploy frequent changes to the application, the scripts themselves, automation scripts, will start breaking because it has dependency on object properties. So we want to use AI-based object detection to solve that problem. We actually now have a very, very mature AI-based, computer vision-based object recognition engine. And we're not just supporting web and mobile applications, but also supporting SAP GUI identification using AI-based object detection. Then acquiring the right skills for automation is a challenge, and connecting that with the business and business SMEs. We talked about the shift right problem. This is where I will talk about the codeless test design as a solution that is just about to be released. Infrastructure overhead exists, whether you want devices, whether you want browsers, or just because you have a lot of time spent running tests on multiple environments, it's the execution of test cases that could be a problem. So we'll just quickly wrap up by talking about the functional test module of Value Edge, which provides me a digital lab for devices. Actually, I will just, because I'm getting the signal to move faster, because I think I'm sitting between us and lunch. There's one more session, actually, so, AI-based object detection reduces the test maintenance cost because we're using machine learning neural networks to understand objects. So even if this home button is placed on a different place on the screen, whether it's object class changes, it's identifier changes in the script, it doesn't matter to AI because it is recognizing it by its visual characteristics. Think about autonomous cars, right? They're running on the road. the brain of that car is trained to identify objects on the road. Same way UFT1's brain has been trained to recognize hundreds of object types from a visual perspective, but we are also doing OCR for the text element. Greatly reduces test maintenance, and now by virtue of that, AI, you are significantly improving automation coverage as well. How is that? Today, if you're testing a mobile app, you'll build a separate script for Android, you'll build a separate script for iOS, and you'll build a separate script for mobile web. With AI, because it has no dependency on the object's inherent properties, it actually translates to just building one test script across all these platforms. So you're increasing the rate at which you're building automation. And we put this AI object detection service in the cloud, which means we are able to update it on a monthly basis, versus customers who deployed this on-prem. First, they had to get the GPUs and the hardware to run the AI engine, and two, it was not updated that frequently. So that problem solved. The shift right problem, getting the business SMEs and the manual testers to participate in automation, this is where the codeless test design, purely codeless, no script, uses AI object detection, which I just talked about, but pretty much the test is in plain English language. Click the Shop Now button, verify that this test exists, type this in the password field, right? If you see, even for a business user, this becomes very, very easy to start participating in automation. And model-based testing takes it further by aligning these functional test cases with business requirements and makes that collaboration between the business and the QA possible by helping create these workflows based on which it can churn the different paths that translate into test cases. Talking about the problem of having the environments, the infrastructure, we have two solutions here. Part of value edge functional testing, which is the digital lab. Remote devices can be accessed by teams spread geographically. You can have a hybrid model, flexible deployment model, where you can connect your own devices. You can have devices available from OpenText in the private cloud fashion or even public cloud devices. And finally, we also now provide cloud-based test execution to run multiple parallel tests on cloud-based VMs, which are VMs running in the OpenText hosted cloud. All right. So I know I went through this really, really quickly. I'm sure the organizers will be happy with that. How it all comes together, just very quickly back to the value edge framework that I started off with. So it's a modular platform. It's got a layer at the bottom for traceability, the data lake, which builds on the insights. But there is also that integration layer, which can connect with all the disparate tools in the application lifecycle, from Jira to Jenkins to ServiceNow to collaboration tools, Azure DevOps, Git, you name it. It's quite a big set of integrations that we provide. The acceleration modules are really spanning across the value stream from plan, which is value add strategy, to build, which is the agile module, to then quality, which is the quality module for managing quality, the functional test, which is what I just covered, the 5 pillars of functional testing from model-based to digital lab to codeless design and AI-based object detection, to then the performance module, which is nothing but load runner cloud. And then it ties into a release module, which helps me do the release process governance and orchestration. And finally, I can hook it up with, do that closed loop with ServiceNow or any of the other ITSM tools with value edge operations as the layer at the end. And at the top is all the insights, all the AI-based analytics that I talked about, all the dashboards and the widgets I talked about. That's the insights that I'm bringing across these entire value stream to be able to solve the problems that we talked about. This is my last slide. So how we integrate using that integration hub I talked about. And it's pre-built with over 15 plus different endpoints that we can support. But overall, as a platform, you can see it's pretty wide coverage across IDEs, source code management systems. You can run any automated test, right? I was talking to another customer outside where they're talking about ALM Quality Center. A lot of our ALM Quality Center customers are moving to this platform because they may have adopted certain other tools outside of Micro Focus OpenText for CI/CD, for automated testing, for their IDEs, for their even backlog management. So this platform becomes more acceptable in that kind of a scenario. One, because it works in a more heterogeneous environment, and two, it can take all the data and build that data lake to provide me those insights. OK. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have time for questions, but I appreciate the time. And any further questions, we are available at the booth. OK.
Thank you so much, Manish, to finish it on time. May I call upon Mr. Srinivas Kulkarni to felicitate Manish?